Hey, what's the deal, YouTube? It's your girl, Miss Honey. Woo. Welcome back to the channel, everyone. It is your girl, Miss Honey, and I seem to be getting fatter. What are you gonna do? Hey, you guys. I hope you guys are doing well. We are here for another Handmaid's Tale review. It is late. That's fine. That's fine. But I made it. I made it. And that is important as well, right? Oh, this was an emotional episode. It was a very emotional episode. Not for me, but for all the players. It was emotional. Um, I do feel like I have like a little Handmaid's Tale PTSD because I kept waiting for the horrific to happen. And hopefully I'll remember to tell you the things I thought was going to happen as we go through the scenes. And then you can tell me if you think that I have I have Handmaid's Tale PTSD. If you have watched this show from season 1, you can't help but be just a tad bit shell shocked um, uh, as to what may or may not happen in any episode. This episode is called Progress, and that title is based all off the premise that Luke and June seem to make some progress in the way of getting Hannah back, or attempting, or even just being able to formulate a good plan to get Hannah back. They make progress in that direction. They also seem to make a little progress in their relationship as well. We get to see Janine this episode, and uh, she gets an opportunity to make some progress in the way of her relationship with Aunt Lydia, and possibly trying to avoid, her greatest fear, which is going back into servitude to a commander and his wife, as a handmaid. Um, yeah, so this episode opens with my girl, um, My Twisted Life of Poetry and TV. I think that's her channel name. Just put in My Twisted Life and it'll come up. She does Handmaid's Tale too, and it opens with her favorite thing, which is June staring at the camera. And the minute it came on and June was staring at that camera, I was like, oh my gosh, I can't wait to see Twisted's review, because I know that she's gonna cuss them out as only she can do. She hates it when June stares at the camera. And it did seem like it went on just a bit too long, in my opinion. But I digress. So it opens with June just staring, and we see that she's staring at Luke. And, he's got, eyes full of tears. I mean, it's that, where the tears kind of pile up on your bottom lid, waiting patiently for you to blink so they can drop buckets down onto your cheeks. They're both kind of doing that. And she's saying that she's sorry once again. And he was like, well, no, you did everything that you could. You did everything that you could. Basically, she had told him about the last time she saw Hannah, and that the fact that Hannah was actually afraid of her. We didn't get to hear the conversation, but it just seems like they're both really, really emotional about this one moment. I don't know if she told him about when she actually tried to acquire Hannah, and Hannah kind of fought her off. I don't know if they had all of that conversation. But anyway, together they both agreed that they would figure out a way to get Hannah back. And he says, let me show you what I've been doing so far, which we haven't heard hiding her hair of. That was one of my biggest gripes with Luke, was that he rarely ever, whenever we saw scenes of them in Canada, mentioned Hannah. And he rarely ever talked about getting Hannah back, which I thought was bizarre. And her name doesn't come up a lot. He and June had tender conversation when she first got there, and they were there in the hotel, and she was telling him like really good stuff about Hannah, about seeing her and just like bringing it all back for him, and he was so emotional about it. And then the Hannah conversation kind of just goes away. Now he shows us that he's done all of this research, which is articles and clippings and conversations that he's had, connections that he's made about where she possibly was at the time of his research. It was a lot of stuff, but it was really nothing. I mean, honestly, it was a lot of stuff, but it was really nothing. It was really more, I don't know. Y'all tell me what y'all think. It just didn't seem like it was Hannah centered. It seemed more like it was intel centered. I don't know. Anyway, it looked like a lot. He had done a lot, to try to work on finding out where Hannah is. Okay. I don't know. Anyway, we see where Moira comes in, and she sees where he has all the papers out, and she asks him, why do you have all this stuff out? And I'm like, what are you talking about? This is their daughter. This is all the research he's done, to hopefully get their daughter back. Yeah, why do you have all this out? And they're talking about, formulating this plan to get Hannah back. And she says, oh yeah. So she looks at June and says, yeah, I don't know. She made some sort of quip about June, being in charge or taking her power back or something. It was some little reference that seemed like support, some little passive aggressive way. It seemed like support. It seems like she was behind June, but the way she looked at June and turned and walked out, I think she's just over June coming in like, the bad arse. I think she is upset with June coming in and you sort of usurping her own agenda over everyone else's. I think she wants to tell June off. I think she wants to let June have it, but I think she has a measure of guilt about it. I think she feels selfish about, she feels like her feelings are selfish. And, I don't know. June's back, so Moira is she's dropped down in terms of other people's attention, other people's concerns, other people's it's all geared towards June now. And even when other people aren't doing it, June's energy forces people to turn all of their attention to her anyway. Pulls their attention off of whatever else is going on or whoever else is in the room and puts it on her. And I'm sorry, I had a subscriber that put down a comment, and she had a very valid point, and she could very well be right, but I still have this sneaky suspicion that Moira is jealous of June. I just feel like it. Anyway, we see where Luke and June call Commander Lawrence, right? And they got Truello with them. And so it's Luke and Truello sitting side by side, and on the other side is a sofa, and in the middle it's like an old school speakerphone connection. It was weird. It wasn't like a phone. It was a phone, but it was like your old school phone, the kinds where you push the buttons and then you push the button for intercom. It was that type of setup. It wasn't like a crystal clear conversation. At first, it sounded like he was on an old school 45 album when he first started talking, right? Like, you know. And Commander Lawrence, he's his typical ray of sunshine as usual. He always sounds slightly drunk to me, drunk and gay. He's just got a real sassy, snippy, intoxicated way of talking, right? And it's condescending and insulting and dismissive all at the same time. He really feels like he's got the biggest brain in the room. It really just equals out to him being a jerk. Okay? He tells her, she asks him about, he says, oh yeah, he talks to her a little bit about her freedom and all of that, and then tells her about Janine being safe and sound with Aunt Lydia, and he knows that she's not safe and sound with Aunt Lydia. He knows that Janine is in grave danger because the moment they put her back into a situation where she is once again being abused and mistreated, that she's not mentally sound enough to really, really survive that without acting out in some way. Like Janine is fragile. That's just what it is. Okay? She's a lot stronger than what she used to be, but she is up against a formidable foe, which is Aunt Lydia and all of the commanders and all of the other aunts. And you know what I mean? Like, she could end up being stoned or hung. June knows instantly. I mean, she immediately begins to tear up because, he says that Aunt Lydia, she's back working at the compound, and with Aunt Lydia tucking her in bed at night. And June knows that it's a bad situation for Janine, right? And so she cuts to the chase and tells him why she's calling. She wants him to give her some information on Hannah, and he continues to be an arsehole, talking about how Hannah is better off. Why don't she just let it go? And it just, he's saying things that really not only are dismissive and hurtful, but it's insulting. And Truello and Luke are sitting right there listening to it all. So June has a bevy of emotions about this moment. She is pissed, but she's got to hold it together, right? He thinks he's just talking to her. He doesn't know that the two of them are there listening. She's got to hold it together because she really technically needs him. And she feels ashamed. She feels exposed because he's saying things that really don't put her in a positive light about her attitude and how everybody gets hurt around her and no one else's feelings matter when she's around. Like, it's just a bunch of little stuff that everybody in the room knows is true. Including June, darling, including June. And of course, she wants to jump through that phone and snatch his tonsils out. Just like, why do I have to go through this whole tongue wrestling thing with you? Why does it have to be this back and forth debating thing with you? Why can't you just do what's right, Commander Lawrence? And just as we think he's at the height of being a complete jerk and a butthole, he surpasses it when she says, this is what I've worked out. I've worked out some flexibility as it relates to trade between the Americas, Canada, and Gilead. Maybe relaxing some of the tariffs to get more goods and stuff into Gilead. And he was like, "Oh, come on, you could do better than that." Like I said, he sounds slightly effeminate, and um, he sounds drunk. He sounds drunk. He sounds like an old bitter, mad, angry drunk. Oh, come on. You can do better than that, can't you? I'm sure you could do better than that. And he says, "How about you give me 10 of the kids you took back, and I'll give you Hannah." And it's a kick in the chest, because how do you take 10 other people's children out of safety, okay, out of wellness, and cast them back into that wicked system where they're going to be farmed out as cattle if they're girls, and they probably wanted all girls back, I'm sure. They didn't say it, but I'm sure, right? And possibly hung and killed and tortured and maimed and repeatedly raped and brutalized. How does one do that? You know what I'm saying? And what would it say about her if she were to do that? I'm halfway thinking he may have done that just to try her. I partially felt like maybe he thought he was being listened in on. I don't know. But so she was like, "I can't do that." And then Luke is getting emotional too, because this is a lot to be put on June. And he's seeing it firsthand, right? And seeing just how 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 wicked, the men in Gilead are. Like, that's not an option. So he says, "Okay, I see you've gone soft since you've gotten a taste of freedom." He tells her, "How about you give us 5 in exchange for Hannah? Can you do 5 in exchange for Hannah?" And she said, "No, I cannot do that." And he was like, "Well," she's like, "Please, I'm begging you. I really need to get my daughter back. I know that you can help, and I'm just hoping you will have a heart. I know that you're not that kind of." He was like, "You need to let her go. You got freedom. You got yourself out. You already got that other baby up there. Just forget about her. Just let it go. Just move on." And he hangs up. Like, the whole time she's begging him, though, he's got his eyes closed, and he seems like it's paining him to be this arsehole to her. It's paining him to be this jerk to her. It's paining him to dismiss her pain in this way. That's what it seems like. That's why I say I get so confused about if he's on, the side of freedom, or if it's just all to fit his agenda. In this moment, he seems genuinely moved, even though he's holding, you know, he's maintaining this sort of jerk attitude. You can see on his physical countenance that he feels bad. And when he says you need to move on, and then he hangs up and forget about Hannah and move on, and he hangs up, and then when he gets off, he covers his mouth. He says, "If you can," and he puts his head down, because he realizes, who's gonna leave their baby? Who's gonna leave their child? Who's not gonna die fighting for their child's freedom? If you can. Then we get to see Aunt Lydia, and we see Janine off to the side, and she's scrubbing floors. And they're bringing in this handmaid who is on a hunger strike, and she's refusing to eat. We don't get to see who it is. When she sits down, we see the side of her from the side view, and it's more like a silhouette. It's very dark and dungeony in Gilead. And really, in Gilead, the only color is the handmaid's garb and the Serena's garb, right? So all I see is this really long neck. At first, I thought it was like a dummy. I was like, oh, they torturing. They finna torture Janine. They finna torture Janine. I just know it. Because ain't nobody there but Janine. And she just scrubbing the floor. It's so stupid because you could clean that whole floor with the good mop and a hot bucket of water, right? It is stupid, but I guess it's supposed to be torture and discipline and all of that. Bring the lady in, the girl in, and she's got like this long neck. We see it from the side, and I mean, literally, her neck is like a goose. I was like, that's a dummy? Is that a mannequin? What is that? And Aunt Lydia grabs the girl's head and lifts it back, and we see who it is. It's Esther. From the farm, the beginning of this season, the one that was making the poison and poisoning the commander that she was under, because he was raping her and allowing her to be raped. Mrs. Keys. So it's her. She's on a hunger strike. She is refusing to eat. And we see what Lydia is telling her. She's chiding her about all the trouble she's caused. And she tells her, you ought to try to make up for all the trouble that you caused. Now, she wasn't a handmaid. She was a wife. They had married her off as a child. She still is a child. But as a younger child, they had married her off to this commander who was cruel and pimping her out, essentially. Now that she has been found helping handmaids, they have put her into the handmaid system. So she got on the red carpet, and they finna put her into the system because they feel like she has the potential, given her youth and her health, to make babies, and that's what they need her to do. Especially since June got all them children now. And she's telling her, you, after all the trouble you caused, you need to eat and do what's right. And she takes that whole plate. First of all, she smiles like she's gonna eat it, and then she takes her hands and push that whole plate off on the floor. They tell Janine to come over there and clean it up. Right? Janine don't say a word. She just watch it all play out, and then she get up, yes, Aunt Lydia, and clean that mess up. With the same thing she was cleaning the floor with. But whatever, I digress. We see Serena Joy open baby gifts. It ain't a true baby shower. These are gifts that the base, okay, the people, some people in Canada support, and I forgot to talk about this last week, really support what's going on in Gilead. I don't know if they were former Gilead citizens or what, or if they just believe in that way of life. I'm just like, if you believe that wholeheartedly, pack your whole lot up and go back to Gilead. Just go back to Gilead. If you believe the way that the Waterfords are governing or running their lives, go back to Gilead. Y'all go to Gilead and live that way, where you can be amongst your people. Yeah, it was women out there, men out there, all them protesting. Well, now they are sending them gifts, baby gifts, mostly Canadian jerseys. Serena Joy is not happy about it, and she wants Fred to know that this isn't at all what she was hoping for. Now, she's got a pretty big belly. She's soon due to deliver. Her baby's soon due. So this has to be over months span, because when we first found out a few episodes ago, her belly was pretty much flat. Now it has to be 8-9 months later, or at least 7 to 8 months later, because she's soon due. But she keeps reminding Fred that this isn't the way she wanted it to play out, and that she just does not have those feelings for him anymore. Like, I'm not checking for you. But she feels like they're going to for sure lock him up. they're going to for sure punish him. And she thinks that they will eventually let her go free. And then she'll be free in Canada and she'll be free to raise her son. Okay. And he wants her to, try to parlay this support of the Canadians, these few Canadians, try to parlay that into support for them. Try to see if she can parlay that into something that will be able to help them, their support, that support to be able to help them in their case. And he was like, write a book. You've written a book before, write a book. And and tell them about our way of life. That'll ingratiate them a little further to us. Okay? And she looking like, are you crazy? But she gets started on that book though. She definitely go ahead and get started on that book. We go back to Aunt Lydia, and she is sitting at this very long table full of aunts, and she's in the center. So she must be over the girls and over the aunts. And so they're talking, and Janine is going in and out between them and pouring them a little bit of water in their glass. She's also overhearing what they're talking about, and they talking about Esther. They saying they can't keep letting Esther not eat, because if she don't eat, it is going to keep her from being able to reproduce. All that raping she been through probably going to keep her from reproducing too. But who am I to bring up endometriosis and scar tissue and that type of thing, or syphilis and all these things that she's been exposed to? Who am I to bring that up, right? Like, it's stupid. It's dumb. You can be raped and brutalized and beat and mistreated, but that's not going to keep you from getting a baby, getting a woman pregnant. That's not going to hurt a child's chance of being, or a woman's chance of procreating. But not eating this porridge, this gruel that y'all serving up is going to hurt her. So stupid. It's dumb. So they think that a little bit more punishment and a feeding tube will be just the trick. Janine steady pouring. Then one of the other, and Aunt Lydia is like, well, maybe you're right. And another aunt said, yeah, she don't need her tongue to procreate. So they thinking about cutting her tongue out of her mouth and putting her on a feeding tube. And I guess they're going to just prop her legs open and have commanders walk through there and drop their random sperm in her vagina. I'm assuming you just gonna plug her up to a machine like a bloated, sick cow. Janine gasps. Remember, Janine got her eye carved out. She got her whole cornea taken out over not cooperating. Right? She knows how they can maim and brutalize. She knows that they can go really, really far and still keep Esther alive. They send Janine to the kitchen so she can gather herself. And the aunt started to work on Aunt Lydia, telling y'all, you need to get rid of Janine. Janine can't just stand around here. She got a viable womb. Send her to the colonies. She need to be punished for what she did. Send her to the colonies. And Aunt Lydia, in an effort to fight for Janine, she is speaking up on her behalf, but it's oxymoronic, because she's speaking up for Janine to she's saying Janine is viable. Oh, she's important. Oh, she is necessary to this whole thing. She can still produce babies. So she's sticking up for it, but at the same time, she's speaking up for why she should be a handmaid, why she should still be allowed to procreate. Well, send her to the colonies. I don't know what they do at the colonies. I don't know if it's they, like I said, they do cows and they just plug them up and stuff them full of steroids and drop. As soon as they drop babies, they put more babies in them, and they drop babies and put more babies in them until they kill them from childbirth. Just kill them from constantly giving birth. Put the head in a bucket. I don't know. I don't know. It can't be as bad as being a handmaid because Janine begged to go to the colonies. So it must just be working in the field. I don't know. I don't know. Anyway, Aunt Lydia defends Janine. And then she gets offended by them even bringing it up and questioning her. She says she gonna think about it, but she's offended about it. Later on, she's looking through Janine's folder, and Janine comes in and brings her tea. And when she puts the teacup down, she sees where Aunt Lydia is looking through her folder, and she knows she's trying to pair her with the commander. Now, but because of her past, it will be hard for her. It's gonna be hard for Aunt Lydia to find a commander that will take Janine. It's gonna be Commander Lawrence. It's gonna be Commander Lawrence because that's the only way she can keep an eye on Janine. She treats Janine kind of like Janine is her child, her sweet little, special needs child. In a way, though, it's kind of sexual. Not sexual, but Aunt Lydia's favoritism and affection towards Janine, it does seem a little bit like she's enamored with Janine. And I don't know if she's enamored in the way that a mom is with a daughter, or if she's enamored in a way that an older woman would feel towards a younger woman. That she's attracted to. Physically attracted. I don't know. Y'all tell me what y'all think. You get what I'm saying, though? You get what I'm saying? Like, it's a little odd. It's a little odd. It's a little odd. It's got moments where she seemed like sweet Aunt Granny, and then it's got moments where she is jealous. She is jealous, and she was upset when they brought up Janine. When them other aunts brought up Janine, it was like, Janine is mine. Janine belongs to me. I'll decide what I'm going to do with my Janine. This came across a little, I'm just saying. Just think about it. Tell me what you think. Put it down below. Janine sees that her folder's out, and Aunt Lydia sees that she sees, and she tells her, don't worry, dear, I'm going to take care of you. And so Janine is like, okay. Janine right now, she's holding it together. She's biding her time. But we've seen Janine get into situations where it's tough, and her psyche just flips. It just flips because of just how tough it gets. She is dreading going back into the post, but she's on another post, but she's holding it together. And then she talks on Esther's behalf. She speaks up for Esther, and she makes a few suggestions. Maybe if we tell her what's going to happen to her, she'll eat. Just give her a chance. She says she went through a lot. She's been through a lot, and she's just scared. She doesn't know who she can trust. The commander that she was with, Commander Keyes, hurt her, and he allowed other men to hurt her too. And Aunt Lydia said, oh, I see. She understands because she kind of halfway tried to talk to the men when she would see that they was beating the girls, the handmaids, or mistreating the handmaids. She would go and have a nice nasty talk with them to get them to stop doing it. But she really don't have no pull. She can't stop the men from doing whatever it is they want to do. She can manipulate the situation, but she can't be like, don't do that. So she empathizes in that way because she feels like, it's this gift. It's this wonderful gift. And how could you hurt the giver of this gift, right? Even though she had Janine's eye put out and had several people stoned. Anyway. So she thinks that that's a good idea that Janine has, and she tells her, I'll put Esther's punishment on hold. You make a very valid point, and why don't you take her breakfast tomorrow morning and have a little chat with her? Maybe that'll help her see the light. Okay. And we cut to June, and June is going through the articles that Luke showed her. And she's emotional. She's just trying to figure out what it is that she can do. She's been shot down by Commander Lawrence, and she comes across a baby picture, a much younger picture of Hannah. And she starts crying. In comes Luke, and Luke sits opposite to her. She's on the sofa, and he sits opposite to her. And he, starts lamenting about the fact that it didn't work with Commander Lawrence. He's like, yeah, I've been thinking about Lawrence. And she says, yeah, I'm so sorry. I really, really tried. I thought he would help. And he's like, oh, no, I get that he's an arsehole. And I understand that. He said, but I've been thinking about something else. Why don't you see if Nick will help? And she's just sitting there like, Nick? And he was like, yeah, why don't you see if Nick will help? You said that he helped you in the past. If you see him, he could be a possible resource. He's super, super calm. And she's just looking at him like, blinking like, what? And he says, it's a super, super heavy moment. He says, you could try that. Do you think he will help? And so she says, I think Nick would do anything for me and Nicole. And he was like, oh, okay, well, why don't we do this then? Because she was like, well, I'll call Tuolo and see if he'll set it up. He said, I've been thinking, since he'll do anything for you, why don't we just negate the phones and you go see him in person? And she was like, you want me to go and see Nick in person? He was like, yeah, and talk to him. And maybe you could take Nicole, to sweeten the deal. Since he'll do anything for you and Nicole. It's this moment where I wasn't sure if he was insinuating that June needed to go and do whatever she needed to do with Nick to get some information on Hannah, if that was his suggestion. I wasn't sure if it was a weird moment. It was heavy and it was kind of complex. Part of me felt like he was kind of trying to get June to trick out with Nick. Part of me felt like he was being passive aggressive about the fact that he knew that Nick and June had a relationship. And he can tell that June's love is somewhere else with Nick. And he was feeling like, yeah, that's what I'm telling you to do. Go to the other man. Which Nick is, the other man, but it's kind of like by default since they were forced to be together sexually. They continued on being together. But I can't remember if they was having sex before that. They were definitely having an intimate relationship. I don't think they was having sex, but I think they was having an intimate relationship. And then I think after that is when they started kind of seeing each other a little bit more, sneaking around a little bit more. But I just didn't realize, I just didn't understand. Like, I couldn't really, it was a complex moment. June was crying and she was like trying to double check with him. Like, this is what you want me to do. Like, you understand that I love this dude, right? You understand that me and this dude would be together. If he had came with me, we would be together. You saying you want me to do that? And he's saying, yeah. And she said, he said, will you do that? Will you do it? That's what made me feel like he was kind of trying to tell her to go and do whatever you got to do with this dude to get information about our daughter. I don't know. Y'all tell me what y'all think. He seemed hurt while he was talking about it. But there was points where he seemed very clear about what he wanted her to do. It was just a weird scene. And coming in on it, it could be perceived, I think, either way. June said, I'll do whatever it takes to get Hannah back. And he was like, yeah. This is about doing whatever it takes to get Hannah back. That's another thing that he said that made me feel like even though it pained him to send her back into Nick's presence, into his arms, knowing or thinking that he knows how June feel about him, he was ultimately doing it for the Hannah reason, right? And she said, yeah, I guess so. He was like, good. He gets up and goes and kisses her on the cheek and tells her he's going to go get washed up for dinner. I was like, what just happened? What just happened? It was so awkward. It was terribly awkward and off-putting. I was like, is he telling him to go out there and trick off with Nick? And y'all think this vagina thing is easy. I don't know. This is another reason why I feel like I'm a little jaded, or I got a little PTSD. I kept waiting for, I thought that Janine, them bringing this woman in who we found out later was Esther, was a punishment for Janine. I thought that they was going to punish this woman to punish Janine. That's what I thought. Little PTSD. In this moment, I feel like he's basically telling her to go out there and screw Nick in order to get some information. And I was feeling like y'all feel like this whole vagina thing is real easy. Y'all really think that it's like an armpit or something, like an ear. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like cleaning your nose or something. Like that's wounding, that's scarring. We don't want someone's penis that we don't want. A penis we don't want, or we don't know, or we don't, you know what I'm saying? We don't want it. Like, we're not doing that for exchange of goods and services. Like, no. You don't send your... Anyway, I don't know if that's what he was suggesting. That's what it came off to me as. In some cases, it did seem like he was, even though he loved her, he was sending her into the arms of the man that she loved. Y'all tell me what y'all think. Put it down below. More PTSD from Miss Honey. We see Serena Joy, and she gets a visit from her friend Naomi. Now, Naomi's husband has gone over there to see Fred. And she here with Serena. And Serena was like, oh my gosh, it's so good to see you. So good to get some company from back home. And she was like, yeah, well, I can't stay long. And she comes in, she's got a bag of gifts from all the other Serenas. All the other commanders' wives have sent gifts. And she also has come there with a poorly disguised personal agenda. She says, oh, I'm just sick about what y'all going through. And, Serena Joy said, well, I wasn't sure how people felt about me in Gilead, especially since I turned against Fred. And Naomi said, oh, no, I completely understand. Who am I to judge you on that? You did what you had to do to get your baby back. You was trying to get your baby back. And I can't judge you for that. And Serena was like, okay. And then she hits her with the whammy. Like I said, poorly disguised personal agenda. She tells her, that if they lock them up, and more than likely they will, she would be glad to take her baby and raise her little boy in the way that he should be raised. And Serena's like, what the duck? Yeah, boo. You spent so much time being the handmaid's enemy, feeling like you was all high and lifted up above them, and you see that when push comes to shove, you too are just commodity. You too are just cattle, right? You two are just a means to an end. These people will slice this baby out your belly and leave you bleeding out to get this baby. Your own friend would like to have this baby. You going to jail? Let me put my bid in to get your baby. And Serena's like, well, no, because Fred is really in more trouble than I'm in, and I don't think that they're going to put me in jail, too. I'll probably, get a much much more lenient sentencing, and I can raise my baby. And she was like, oh, okay. Well, if that does happen, why don't you and your baby come back to Gilead, and and raise your baby in Gilead. You want him to be raised the right way. And she was like, no, I don't know if that will be well received. Oh, she was like, oh no, you will be considered a gift to us. You know, more like a hero to us, a heroine, if you will. Just think about it. Meanwhile, Fred over there talking to the husband, and he want to know why they not negotiating for his freedom. Why the other commanders not coming around there and fighting for his freedom. Well, the guy told him, he's like, no, if we negotiate with them for your freedom, it will just encourage more people to kidnap more children and bring them up here and or kidnap more commanders and think we're going to negotiate about it. We can't do that. We've got to keep a strong front. And he was like, so what are y'all going to do? He was like, oh, our prayers are with you. We're praying every day that you get your swift return. And Fred realizes as well, yeah, these was all your boys. They was raping and pillaging with you. You know what I'm saying? Y'all was raping and pillaging side by side. And you realize you have zero value when push comes to shove. Just like Serena Joy. Right? And so when they get together, Fred is indignant. When Serena and Naomi and her husband gone, Serena and Fred get together and he is indignant. The nerve of these scoundrels. You know, not even to think about me. I was their brother and I thought and yada yada yada. And she was like, look, Serena back in program. Because she realized the only person she can depend on, not Rita. Okay, Rita shot you down and told your business. Okay, definitely not June. June ain't doing Jack Daniels for you, right? And she can't depend on nobody down there. She ain't got nobody but Fred. You got to lean on Fred until you get your final sentencing and the final outcome. Your baby come and it's healthy. You got to lean on Fred. You and Fred are in this thing together. And unfortunately, if Fred is to get off, if you are to get off scot-free, Fred need to get off scot-free. And she tells him, if you go to jail and I have and if I have to go back to Gilead, they're going to put me in the colonies. They're going to take our baby and give him to another commander and his wife. They're going to put me in colonies. Or they're going to make me a handmaid now that they know I can procreate. They're going to make me a handmaid. And Fred is like, oh, don't say that. I was like, oh, no, wait. I thought being a handmaid was an honor. Right? I thought being a handmaid was an honor and a blessing to give and be a gift. That's what I thought. I thought that's what we was talking about. Huh? But when it's your own wife going to the colonies or becoming a handmaid and raped and ravaged, beat, abused, oh, that's unacceptable. He said, I'm going to do whatever I got to do to protect you and my son. And when he started thinking, I knew what he was going to do. Because he had no choice. We see it all the time. We see it with mobsters and gangsters and drug dealers. When they realize that they back against the wall, what do? They talk. They squeal. They snitch. They tell it. In exchange for their own freedom. In exchange for Witsec. I knew it. I knew that's what Fred was going to do. Even after he did all this talking and all this bravado about the system and how it works. And we've got birth numbers and yada, yada, yada. And blue. Knowing you stealing people's children. Okay. Like it's the pinnacle type of environment or government to be up under. Regime to be up under. Now you finna squeal on it. Now you finna tell where all the bodies buried. Okay? Now you finna tell the codes to the safe. I wanted to bust Fred in the back of his head. I did. I wanted to bust him in the back of his head. Anyway, And she was like, well, what can you do to help? He was like, just have faith. I said, then he's gonna squeal. We go back to Janine and Esther, and Esther, when she goes in the next morning to bring this breakfast to Esther, Esther thinks she has snuck in and snuck her some food. And she was like, Janine, I'm so glad to see you. Now, they got her chained to the ceiling. She got a bed and a rocking chair. And they got her chained to the ceiling. And she can look up at a window, but she can't look out the window. She can look up at it. It's up high. So she can just see its daylight over his dog. And she looked weather beaten. Now, she ain't ate in a little while. She looked weather beaten and the eyes all sunken in. But she was happy to see Janine. And she tells Janine, I'm so glad that you're here. How did you sneak food in? And she sits down and she starts eating a little bit. You know, she's grabbing a little cracker here, a little cracker there, and a little apple slice. And she's starting to eat. And she wants to know where June is. And she learns that Janine was in Chicago. You were in Chicago? Was June with you? Where's June now? And I think Janine told her that June was in Canada. Is she okay? Is she all right? Janine said, you need to stop worrying about June. You need to stop worrying about June. You need to start worrying about yourself. They're going to hurt you if you don't eat. She's like, I don't care what they do to me. I don't care what they do to me. She is a young girl. She thinks that this is some sort of espionage game, that Janine has turned on her powers and you know, snuck in and, you know, like, I don't know what she was thinking. I don't know if she thinking Janine and June are some sort of kamikaze rebels that are able to navigate, or you know, she's all super hyped and she wants to hear all the details about June. Tell me everything. Like it's going to be like a girl slumber sleepover type conversation. You need to stop worrying about June and worry about yourself, Janine tells her. They're going to hurt you. I don't care what they do to me. She was like, look, they're not going to kill you. They going to hurt you and still keep your womb open to be used. They can torture you and still keep your womb open. They're not going to kill you because you're necessary in order to procreate. They're not going to kill you. Okay? And Esther realizes that you didn't sneak in. This food isn't from you, it's from them. And she spits it out. Janine said, you better get it together and live. And live and survive so you can be happy when this is all over. Okay? That's what you need to be worried about. That's what you need to do. Because this is what they do. They torture you to get you to do what they want you to do. You're going to do it. And you're not going to die. You're just going to be tortured. You're just going to be hurt and mistreated. But you're still going to have to deliver these babies. And she wants Janine to get out. Janine was like, you really need to think about yourself. And you need to think about surviving. And she goes on out. And then the next time we see Janine and Esther, they walking down the hall smiling, you know, and cheerful and joyful, right? Because Aunt Lydia is standing there talking with the two other aunts that was talking against Janine and trying to get Esther's tongue cut out and on a feeding tube. And Aunt Lydia says, blessed be the fruit. And Esther was like, well, blessed be the fruit then. And no fruit, whatever they say to the statement, blessed be the fruit. Beautiful day. It's a blessed day. And I trust you're doing well. And how was the food? Did you enjoy the food? And Esther was like, yes. And thank you for that. I appreciate it. And she says, you girls go on, run on outside and play and enjoy the sunshine. Why don't you? And they giggled and run on out. And then she looks at the two aunts, the two aunt naysayers, and says that Janine proved herself to be very, very useful around there because she got Esther to eat. Right? And it's like two problems that they had was solved in one. And everything is fine. Right? I thought for sure they was gonna cut that girl tongue out. I really thought that Esther was gonna end up hurting herself, because when Janine was talking to her, that tears that was rolling down her face, and in that moment I could just really feel what she was thinking. I have no way out. There is no way out. There is no one coming to save me. There's no one to help me. I am going to have to allow, I have no choice but to be raped over and over again. That's my lot. That is my lot. Them big buckets of tears rolling down her face just because it is the last thing she wanted. She knew what it meant. She knew what it meant. It Janine is saying survive, but what she's thinking in her head is it's the unsurvivable. It is the unsurvivable. It's killing me a little by little, and I have no choice but to accept that or to accept torture. You know, that moment where you realize this is going to happen, and no one's going to stop it. No one's coming to save you. That it's going to happen. Right? But they worked it out. I was like, whatever commander she get, I wouldn't drink the Kool-Aid though. Cause she's a real piece of work. We see where June and Nicole are off to see Nick, and this is the first time I think we have seen, the second time we've seen June actually smile. Maybe the third, maybe she smiled when she first saw Nicole for the first time when she got to Canada. The first time we saw June smile in season 4 was when she saw Nick on the other side of that bridge. Okay. The second time I think may have been when she saw Nicole, she smiled. And now that she is pulling off from Luke with Nicole in the back and going to see Nick, she begins to smile. The moment she sees Nick, she smiles. Again, my PTSD, I thought for sure that it was going to be some Gilead troops, marching out with guns pointed at her to take Nicole and to take her. I just kept feeling like it was a setup. But he comes out and says, freedom looks good on you. And when she sees him, she smiles and she brightens up. And he sees Nicole and she says, we only have a few minutes and I've got a security detail. And they go inside and she tells him, it's this small talk. She's smiling and beaming all along. And they kind of joke and kid with each other and kind of let each other have it a little bit. And she starts to tell him what it is she came there for. And he's already done the legwork. He's already done. When I heard you got to Canada, I started, building this portfolio. And he gives her this folder with all of this stuff about Hannah, where she lives in Colorado Springs, what school she goes to, what she's taken up in school. He's got pictures of her. He said, we've got some friendlies in the area. That's how I got all the pictures. And they sit down on the windowsill and she goes through the phone and she was like, you did all this for me. You did all of this for me. Thank you so much. I thought for sure they was going to shoot her through that window. I thought for sure Nick was going to get his head blown off through that window. Like he had been followed there and there was a sniper on a snowy ridge and was going to shoot him through that window. I just kept waiting for Nick to go down. Or June to go down. I'm sorry. But yeah, I tell you, I got terrible PTSD. Or jaded. One of them, I don't know. Both. Right? So he gives her a little doll for Nicole just to remember him by, and they kiss, and then they nuzzle noses, and then they lean on each other's face, like very tender, very loving. We've not seen her do this with Luke at all. I just think June is such a completely different person. There's no way for really her and Luke to survive, their relationship to survive. I think they can work together to get Hannah. Do I think it's going to be her, Hannah, and Luke in a family? I don't think so. I just don't think so. I think they got Hannah back. That's going to be in 2 separate households. June and Luke are 2 different people. than they were when all of this jumped off. Just period. I think he knows it. I think he is aware that she doesn't have those feelings for him anymore. It's not the same. It's the love and feeling she has for him is as Hannah's father. And that's what I believe. She like I said, they have this tender moment, and she gets ready to leave, and he tells her try to be happy, and she says I will, you too. She goes and gets in the car, and we see her off. I kept waiting for them ninja troops to drop out of the sky. Okay, I kept waiting for it to happen. He goes in his pocket. I was like, what is he doing? He's about to make a phone call, or he's about to push a button or something, and he puts a wedding band on his finger. Nick is married. Okay. So, we get to see where June has gotten back, and she's gotten this information, and Luke is over the moon. He is over the moon about this information. He is crying, he and Moira, and looking over the information, and Truello is there, and Moira's like, this is great, this is good, we're definitely going to get Hannah back because now we have a man on the inside. And Truello's like, actually, we've got two on the inside. They were like, oh, you got another asset? He was like, yeah. And so June is like, who? And he takes a deep breath, and we already know who it is. It's Fred Waterford. They've actually agreed to drop all charges against Fred if he will give them intel on Gilead. I was like, intel? Oh, no. Y'all need guaranteed information. Y'all need to know how to shut all the power off and disarm all the weapons. Like, y'all, for him to get all the charges dropped, the information that he has to drop has to be more than crumbs. Has to be more than crumbs. Right? Of course, Moira is upset. How dare you? How could you drop it on this jerk, on this butthole, this mother ducker? And he's an a-hole. And Luke joins in. And of course, June, she makes her feelings known. And so she tells him, now June's is switching. She's back to cool, calm, castrating. Instead of cool, calm, and calculating, I'm saying cool, calm, and castrating, because when June get like this, June is brutal. June is a warrior, okay? She don't have no problem slaughtering a whole bunch of them Gilead soldiers in order to get what she wants. She's back in warrior mode right this moment. And she says, so you got all my testimony and all of that for what? He was like, the world knows what they did to you. It was heard all around the world what was did to you. It's always going to be known what it was that he did to you. But we won't get a chance like this. We may not get a chance like this to have this type of asset that give us the inside intel on what's going on in Gilead. And he said, I'm sorry, this is just how it is. Sometimes you got to let one fish go in order to catch a whole bunch of fish. And he goes on out the door, and June is looking at the door as he closes it. And Luke sees her and sees that all that, what little color she does have, roll down out of her skin. And he realizes she's finna do it. He says, June. And by the time he gets to that third June, she done hit that doorknob and she's out, and she's running after Truello. And baby, when she catch up with him, she said, whoo! How dare you let this ducking rapist go? He's a ducking rapist. You cannot let a ducking rapist go. He raped me. He's a ducking rapist. And Truello's like, calm down. And the security guys are trying to jump in. And Luke is trying to grab her from the back. And then she says it. She said, I will duck and kill you. 1. I will duck and kill you. 2. I will duck and kill you. 3. I was like, oh, girl, you going to get deported. Oh, you're not going to have security detail anymore, darling. These people going to put you out of their country. You can't just be threatening people like this, sis. You got to be calm. Oh, she's so enraged. And that's how the episode goes off. Next week's episode is the final episode. And I'm going to do my best to try to give that to you guys on Wednesday. So if you don't get to see it first thing Wednesday, but you do get to see my video, just know that it will be a spoiler if you have not seen the episode. Okay? But I'm going to definitely try to put it out next Wednesday. It's going to be a huge episode, the end of the season. I can't imagine what's going to happen. You guys tell me what you think about this episode. Some heavy moments, some intense moments. I'd love to know what you guys think. And until next time, honeybees, mwah.